Well, hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of English Time with Kyle Miller. We have a nice program for you today. We're actually going to talk about Lego today. Lego, the famous toy, the famous construction block building toy. And we'll look a little bit at the history, which actually goes back to about 100 years ago, 100 years ago. We have an interesting story about Lego. We're also going to use that example, as I like to do, in our famous interrogative challenge and practice some questions, as we always do. And we've got a couple phrasal verbs to look at on the show today. A bit of translation. It's a section I can't give up because people keep asking for it. So I got to give the people what they want. That's what we do here. Let's get into it. Welcome to English Time with Kyle Miller. That's right. It's English time. What time is it? Well, it's English time, everybody. We got a nice show for you today. We got a lot to talk about. And I keep thinking, I should change the format. I should change this and that. But then I talk to students, or I talk to listeners, I should say, oyentes, and they always say, my favorite part is the when you do the translation sentences or when you do the interrogative challenge. So those are sections that I have grown to love and sections that people have heard me doing a lot for a long time over the years on my other show. So I think they deserve to live on here in the English Time show. So let's get into it with a bit of translation. I'm going to give you the sentence in Spanish. You say it in English. Vale, ya sabes cómo va eso. Okay, here we go. Dinos lo que debemos hacer ahora. Tell us what we should do now. Lo que debemos, deberíamos, ¿no? Pero todavía vamos a decir, en este caso vamos a decir también should. Tell us what we should do now. ¿Cuál es nuestro saldo bancario? What's our bank balance? Saldo bancario. Bank balance. Balance, como equilibrio. Yeah. What's our bank balance? Tenemos suficiente para llegar a mayo. We have enough to get to May. Yeah. We have enough to get to May. We have enough money, ¿se entiende? To get to May. You could also say to get through April. We have enough to get through April, or we have enough to get to May, okay? ¿Y si alargamos las condiciones de pago? And if we lengthen, alargar, and if we lengthen the terms of payment, los términos, las condiciones de pago, and if we lengthen the terms of payment, the terms of payment, yes, términos de pago, condiciones, the conditions, but instead of conditions here, condiciones, normally we would say terms in this case, okay? No les gustará a nuestros proveedores. Our suppliers won't like it. Yeah, our suppliers, los proveedores, suppliers, we could say, or we could say providers as well. A supplier is typically for a physical product, whereas a provider provides services, and a supplier supplies products. Okay, productos. Si es algo físico, if it's something tangible, something physical, we would typically say a supplier. Supplies that. And then we have also the difference between customer and client. Se dice cliente en español, que en inglés puede ser customer if it's a something physical, a physical product is bought by a customer, but a service is bought by a client. Okay, so we have client and customer, product and service, provider and supplier. Son palabras muy interesantes, ¿no? Hay que saber esas cosas. But the challenge is, the interesting thing is that there is often a bit of a gray area, we say. Un área es un poco gris, la diferencia a veces si es producto o servicio. And I used to work in a bank. In the late 1990s, I worked in a bank. Or at the beginning of the year of the 2000s, I worked in a bank in Canada, Bank of Montreal. And we considered bank accounts, we use the term products. So like we talked about banking products, and we were compensated for our ability to sell. They'd call it selling a product, but they were referring to opening a bank account. But they used the term products. So it's a little bit subjective. It's a little bit of a gray area how we use those terms, but okay. So algunos dependen totalmente de nosotros. Some of them depend entirely on us. Entirely. Totalmente. Totally. Entirely on us. Exigirán el pago parcial. Exigir. You could say they'll demand el pago parcial. They'll demand partial payment. Yeah, they'll demand partial payment. El pago parcial. Partial. Notice I say partial, como shh, silencio, shh, partial. Así, no es parcial, sino partial. Okay, los grandes pueden aguantar. The big ones. Now, we're talking about aguantar de una manera fiscal, ¿no? Bueno, económico. Aguantar, sobrevivir, seguir funcionando como negocio. Aguantar. We could say the big ones can hold out. The big ones can withstand it. The big ones can survive. The big ones can hold out. That's a good expression. To hold out, aguantar. The big ones can hold out. Los pequeños se hundirán. The small ones will go under. Yeah, the small ones will go under. The big ones will hold out, but the small ones will go under. The small ones will go under. ¿Podemos prorrogar la línea de crédito? Can we extend the credit line? Prorrogar. Extend. Can we extend the credit line? La línea de crédito. We say the credit line. We don't say the... Now, we could also say the line of credit. I was going to say, no se dice line of credit, pero sí, se dice a veces también. Line of credit, credit line. So you could say it either way. The credit line or the line of credit. To extend it. Okay? Ya estamos hasta el cuello en deudas. We're already up to our neck. Claro, hasta el cuello. En deudas. We're already up to our neck in debts or in debt. En deudas. We could say, No, we're up to our neck in debt. I would probably say debt, but you could say debts if you want. Okay? Espera, se nos olvida algo. Wait, we're forgetting something. Se nos olvida algo. Wait, we're forgetting something. Tenemos una valiosa colección de pinturas aquí mismo en la oficina. Qué bien, ¿no? We have a valuable collection of paintings. Aquí mismo. We have a valuable collection of paintings right here in the office. Aquí mismo. Se dice right here. Aquí mismo. We have a valuable collection of paintings right here in the office. Aquí mismo en la oficina. ¿Estás sugiriendo que las vendamos? Are you suggesting that we sell them? Are you suggesting that we sell them? ¿Qué más podemos hacer? ¿Qué más? What else podemos hacer? What else can we do? ¿Qué más podemos hacer? What else can we do? No veo otra salida. I don't see, es que no veo otra salida. I don't see any other way out. Salida, claro, way out. I don't see any other way out. No veo otra salida. I don't see any other way out. Okay, vamos a, it's kind of an unfortunate story, but we'll see how it goes here. ¿Cuánto valen? How much are they worth? ¿Cuánto valen? Remember, to be worth. No se dice, no existe it worths. ¿Vale? To be worth. How much are they worth? How much is it worth? How much was it worth? To be worth. ¿Vale? So be careful with that, right? We do not say how much it worths. No. How much, in this case, how much are they worth? Es plural. Recuerdo su valor hace 10 años. I remember, recuerdo, claro, I remember their value 10 years ago. I remember their value 10 years ago. Okay, this is a good one. Fueron tasadas por un experto. They were appraised, tasadas. They were appraised by an expert. Fueron tasadas por un experto. They were appraised by an expert. Anyway, we could continue, but I want to move on because I feel that we have a lot to talk about on this show. So I'm going to keep plugging forward. And in fact, I want to tell an interesting story. You know, lately, I find myself fascinated by stories of company histories. So the history of different companies behind the brand, if you will. And today I want to talk about Lego. The company Lego. And when I was thinking of this, it also reminded me of an advertising campaign from the 1980s, I'm going to say, for the Eggo waffles, los gofres de la marca Eggo, E-G-G-O, Eggo. And I don't know if they're available in Spain or not, Eggo waffles. If you see the series Stranger Things, there's the character 11, this girl, and she is one of the protagonists, of course, of the story. And in the first season, she loves Eggos and is eating Eggos all the time. I don't know if Kellogg's, who owns the Eggo brand, I don't know if they paid for that, if it was intentional product placement, but certainly some great marketing. But Eggo, it reminds me of this commercial that they had, or this series of commercials where they had, and the protagonist in the commercial would say, Lego my ego. Lego, but it was essentially let go of, like suéltalo. So you'd have two people or two kids eating breakfast, and one kid would intenta coger el último gofre, o el gofre del otro, and then the person sitting down would say, hey, Lego my ego. Suelta mi ego. Suelta mi gofre. Lego, let go of. But they just said Lego my ego. But for a native English speaker, it was obvious that they meant let go of. But anyway, I'm not talking about Eggo waffles now, maybe another day. But today let's talk about Lego, L-E-G-O, Lego, los Legos, right? The building blocks for kids. And the story goes back a long time. In fact, it starts, if you want to go back to the birth of the not even the birth, but the business, the start of business for the founder. We go back to Denmark, a small village in Denmark called Billund. And there was a man who lived there named Ole Kirk Christensen. He was a carpenter. And of course, like all carpenters, or like most good carpenters, passionate carpenters, he loved working with wood and building things a little bit beyond, más allá de sus proyectos de casas y cosas así. And he bought a small wood shop, so a little workshop, un taller de madera. And he started making practical things for people in his village. He was making ladders. He made ironing boards, right? Tablas de planchar, furniture, muebles. He had a quiet life. And the business was small, but it was steady. It worked. He was able to make a living, ganarse la vida de eso. Then in 1929, the Great Depression came, right? 1929, around the world, a terrible time economically. A lot of people lost their jobs, and a lot of people didn't have the money to buy new furniture. So his orders stopped. He had workers who needed to be paid. He had to take care of his own family. He had a couple of sons. And instead of closing the workshop, he decided to take a risk. So this was in the early, this was 1932, I believe. And he started making wooden toys. First, he started making little ducks, patos, with wheels. He made toy trucks, he made yo-yos, and other little simple toys. And the toys turned out to be, resultaron, more popular than the furniture, a lot more popular. And families started buying them because children loved playing with them every day. And Ole wanted a good name for his new toy business, so he thought about the Danish word leg got, or the words, I should say, leg got, L-E-G G-O-D-T, 2 words, which means play well, leg got, and god, G-O-D-T. Sorry about my Danish, but it means play well. So he combined them and created a new word and a new name, Lego, L-E-G-O. And the name felt right. He liked the name because it stood for fun, play, and also high quality. And he told his workers, he said, only the best is good enough. And he thought that toys should help children learn and also enjoy themselves. But life was challenging. It wasn't easy, like most parts of the world in the 1940s. And things got even more difficult for him. In 1942, there was a terrible fire broke out in his factory one night, and the flames destroyed almost everything, the wood, the tools, the machines, and even some finished toys that they had built and were ready to sell. So he was very saddened by this. It was a great challenge. And many people in his situation, of course, would have given up. But he refused to stop. He didn't want to get another job. He refused to stop. And he went and he got some money from the bank and from his family. And he built a new factory, in fact, a larger factory. And by the end of that same year, he was producing toys again. Estaba ya con la producción otra vez de sus juguetes. And he had hired even more workers. He was even bigger. The operation was even bigger, in fact. And after the end of the Second World War, he noticed a new material that was becoming popular. Of course, plastic. Right? In 1947, he bought Denmark's first plastic injection molding machine. It was very expensive. Some people thought he was taking too big of a risk, but he believed in the future. He thought plastic is the future. In 1949, the company started making its first plastic toys, including very simple building bricks that were called automatic binding bricks. Automatic binding bricks. There's ladrillos. Now, binding is like the way they stick together. Autopegado o autopegante, no sé cómo sería, pero que se juntan solos. Esos ladrillos. Without glue, right? So these early bricks connected to each other, and children really liked them. They started to become successful. They were building houses and cars with them. And at the time, the company was still making wooden toys, but it started making plastic ones as well. Now, he had a son. He had a couple of sons, actually, but his son Gottfried worked very closely with him and saw even more possibilities. And they started to modify the bricks. And empezaron a modificar, a cambiarlos. They created a special design, that interlocking design that we know today, in fact. They had these small round pieces, small round studs, you could say. Studs, esas piezas que salen del plástico por arriba. The studs on the top and little tubes inside the bottom. So this made them lock together very strongly and stay in place. So the design was so good that it received a patent, or he took out a patent on it. And bricks made back then, they still fit perfectly with new bricks produced many years later. This was very important because it was a great idea because it allowed people to expand their collection essentially infinitely. Right? So this is a very important concept. A couple of years later, this was getting into 1960 at this point. And believe it or not, there was another fire. It seems like every company had fires. There was another fire. Another fire happened. This time it destroyed most of the remaining wooden toys that were stored in a warehouse, in un almacén. So the son, Gottfried, was now helping to lead the company. He made a very brave decision. He said, no more wooden toys. Ya nada más de madera. And from that day on, Lego would focus only on the plastic building bricks. And the Lego, they call it the Lego system of play. It was a big change. It was a big risk, abandoning their original style of wooden toys. But it helped the company grow faster because plastic bricks were easier to produce in large numbers and could be shipped all over the world. And for many years after that, Lego grew slowly but steadily, constantemente, con constancia. The family kept full control of the business. They opened factories, they created new sets of wheels, doors, windows, and they even built the first, I say the first because there are several of these now, Legoland theme park. They built a Legoland theme park in the hometown of Billund in 1968. So children in many countries around the world were playing with Lego bricks by this time. 10 years later, 1978, the company introduced the small plastic people that they called minifigures. These smiling little yellow figures, that made the toys even more fun because children could create stories with characters. Now, around the year 2000, there were some problems. Video games had become very popular. There were cheap copies of Lego bricks appearing in shops as well, like counterfeit, fake versions. And the company started making too many different pieces and very complicated sets with many different licenses. It just got a bit too complicated and sales dropped sharply. By 2003, Lego was losing almost $1 million every day. And they had about $800 million in debt. And a lot of people thought that the company would have to close or maybe be sold to someone else. It looked like the end. But the family, the original family, made an important choice. They brought in a new leader named Jörgen Big Kunstorp. And he was not a toy designer, but instead he was a smart business thinker. He had studied the company very carefully. And he asked a difficult question, una pregunta difícil. Preguntó a la familia. He said, what if the problem is Lego itself? Not the world, not the economy, not changing demands. What if the problem is Lego itself? He looked at everything and he decided to go back to the simple ideas that made Lego so special in the beginning. So he reduced the number of brick pieces almost in half. He stopped a lot of the little side businesses, some of the theme parks, video games, and things that were losing money. He reduced the number of workers by about 1,000 to save costs. And he told designers to focus again on creativity with the basic bricks. And the family actually trusted him. They listened to him, even when the plan was hard, and slowly the changes worked and sales started to rise again. And the company became, in fact, more profitable than ever. Now today, the family, the Kirk Christensen family, still owns Lego, that original family. It's the fourth generation. And they've received lots of big offers to sell the company for billions of dollars, but they always say no. They want to keep that, they say they want to keep the spirit, original spirit of Lego alive. And the old workshop, El Taller Original, in the original one I guess was burnt, but one of the old ones, I said, is now the Lego house, which is a place where families and fans can come to build and play with Legos and celebrate imagination, let's say. So these bricks are still made. They're made in modern factories, but using the same sort of ideas and the same concept as over the last few decades. The machines are very precise. They say about 18 bricks of every million have a small defect. So that's very low, 18 in 1 million. And people of all ages play with them. It's not just kids, but now, I know young adults who are into playing with Lego and collect them. Not the cheapest toy either. It can be kind of they're not cheap. They are expensive, I will say. I consider them to be expensive. But they're high quality. And as we say, often imitated, never duplicated. Well, there is, of course, Playmobil. Playmobil, which is different. The Playmobil is more like ready to play, ready-made. So there is, of course, some assembly. You can snap things together, movable arms and things like that, and they have little accessories. But it's a different concept. And Playmobil is from Germany, and they started in the mid 70s, so many years after Lego. And I wouldn't consider them a knockoff. We have the expression a knockoff, which is when you have una copia, or a company that copies or tries to make like a often cheaper. I wouldn't say cheaper. I don't know how much Playmobil costs. I'm sure they're not cheap either. But a copy, a knockoff, is like un falso. Often something that is false, like a substitute that tries to take advantage, aprovechar del marketing y de la fama de otro producto, a knockoff. So I wouldn't say they are a knockoff at all, but it's something that comes to mind. But there are a lot of versions of toys similar to Lego that I'm sure were inspired by Lego, let's say. But it's fun. I had a lot of them when I was a kid. I liked them a lot. And I think they're clever, and they are good, because they stimulate creativity in children. Anyway, a little bit of talk about Lego today on the show. Lego, kind of a fun topic, I think. Speaking of fun topics, people tell me that they like learning phrasal verbs. So why don't we get into it and take a look at 2 phrasal verbs. Okay, I want to talk about 2 phrasal verbs. We have to mix up. To mix up, que es mezclar, pero confundir. Okay, so we say, I mix them up, or I get them mixed up. We often say that. I get them mixed up. I get the 2 brothers mixed up because they look similar, Siempre confundo sus nombres. I always get their names mixed up. Okay. Se mezcló con mis otras cosas cuando nos mudamos. It got mixed up with my other things when we moved house. It got mixed up. Like mezclado, también. Creo que me estás confundiendo con otra persona. I think you're mixing me up with someone else. I think you're mixing me up with someone else. I think you're confusing me with someone else. So to mix up. But it could also be like mezclar, you're mixing up the paints. You're mixing the paints, you're mixing up the paints. Mezclando las pinturas. Tienes que mezclar los colores antes de que empieces a pintar. You need to mix up the colors before you start painting. Yeah, mix up the colors. Now the other one, it's kind of an opposite, okay? Which is to sort out. Ordenar. Arreglar. To sort out. To sort something out. Arreglar. Ordenar. Okay? But we can sort things out physically. I'm sorting out my clothes. I'm putting the bright colors here and the light colors there. Or whatever. But to sort out a problem. Arreglar. Okay, no te preocupes. Todo se arreglará. Don't worry, it'll sort itself out, or everything will get sorted out, you could say. Arregla tu pelo. Vas hecho un desastre. Hombre, sort your hair out. Sort out your hair. It's a separable phrasal verb, Okay, we can separate it. Sort out your hair, sort your hair out. It looks messy, you could say. It's messy. Desordenado, así, okay? Hecho un desastre. It's messy. It's very messy. Okay, ¿cuándo vas a ordenar tu cuarto? Está hecho un asco. When are you going to sort your room out? It's filthy. When are you going to sort your room out? It's filthy. So yeah, we have to sort out. Now, sort is also like filtrar, right? We had, when I was, in my hometown in Canada, they have a processing facility for vieira. In English, we say scallops. I say scallops. In the United States, they say scallops, la vieira. And they would sort them, so they're separating them according to size or quality. Sorting, como filtrando, separando, sorting, ordenando. So we also use sort out in that sense. But yeah, let's move on, everybody. Let's get into a part of the show that people always ask for. People love this one. How about today's, we're talking about a challenge. Let's get into today's interrogative challenge. All right, today learning more about Lego. Through our interrogative challenge, I'm going to give you the answer, and you can ask me the question that I've already answered, okay? Lego was founded in Denmark. Where was Lego founded? Where was Lego founded? The Lego Group was established in 1932. When was the Lego Group established? The founder of Lego was Ole Kirk Christensen. Who was the founder of Lego? El fundador, the founder. Lego bricks are made primarily from ABS plastic. What are Lego bricks primarily made from? What are Lego bricks principalmente made from? A standard Lego minifigure has 2 legs. How many legs does a standard Lego figure or minifigure have? How many legs does a standard Lego minifigure have? The most popular Lego theme is Lego City. What is the most popular Lego theme? What is the most popular Lego theme? The Lego logo is red and white. What color is the Lego logo? I like that. Lego logo. Lego logo. What color is the Lego logo? The largest Legoland park is in Windsor. Where is the largest Legoland park? Where is the largest Legoland park? Okay, and finally, one more, uno más. We'll pick a good one here. Okay, Lego sets often include miniature figures. What do Lego sets often include? Incluyen a menudo, often. What do Lego sets often include? Yeah, they often include miniature figures, miniaturas. Miniature figures. Okay. All right, so there you have it. I think that's good for today. I think we've practiced a fair bit. We've learned a fair bit about Lego, an interesting company and an interesting and successful toy. And we've hopefully learned and practiced a bit of English along the way. I'm going to finish there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. That would help me a lot if you subscribe, and feel free to share with your friends. Tell your friends, hey, I know this great English podcast, English Time with Kyle Miller. It's great. Please share. I would appreciate that very much. I'm out of time, so I'm going to finish for today, but thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.